how to avoid vacationing with the Sicilian mafia. See, in Sicily, tourists can now sip where mafia dons used to sup, knowing their money isn't going to line the mob's pockets this time round. It's all happening because the government and a daring group of artisans want to break the grip of organized crime on the island. So they're encouraging visitors to patronize only businesses that declare themselves part of the anti-mafia movement. Though first, they have to convince more businesses. Seems it's a risky part of a wider effort to change Sicily's culture at home and image abroad, as we hear from Nancy Greenlease, in a place reclaimed from the mob.
La camera intanto ha I tetti molto alti.
Annalisa Di Matteo stands inside a cozy room of an 18th century farmhouse in the Sicilian countryside. The manager is showing off the property that's been converted into a gracious hotel and restaurant. She flings open the window shutters to introduce me to some four-legged guests. On a distant ridge, the hotel's horses munch grass. The valley unrolling before us is carpeted with the ginestra shrub, known for its yellow blooms. That's why the hotel is called the Portella della Ginestra. It's paradise found, says Di Matteo.
Magari per chi vive in città.
My goodness. In the morning, one wakes up to this panorama. For people from the city, this silence is a miracle.
But this land's history is anything but tranquil. In 1947, bandits linked to the mafia gunned down local peasants holding a May Day rally to demand more control over the land. The massacre confirmed the mafia's undisputed rule over Sicily and its people. A mob boss controlled this estate for years, and one imagines he held clan meetings in the hidden farmhouse. But all that ended in the 1990s. The Italian government used a new law to confiscate the property for the public's use. It was opened a few years ago as a hotel and restaurant by the anti-mafia group Libera Terra, or Free Land. Chef Emiliano Rocchi is in the kitchen overseeing lunch preparations. Travelers who come here hail mostly from northern Italy, France, Canada, and England. Some Sicilians come too, but some left when they discovered the land's mafia history. They were worried about upsetting local bosses. But Chef Rocchi isn't going to kiss the ring of any mafioso.
Una persona che incute timore, che incute terrore, è un criminale, basta.
A person who strikes fear and terror in the people is a criminal. Period.
Non merita rispetto.
They don't deserve respect.
Rocchi says this enterprise is sending a clear message by employing young Sicilians in honest jobs.
È una sorta di schiaffo, insomma, proprio alla mafia.
It's a slap of sorts against the mafia, creating a legal business from what the mafia stole from us.
Su un bene di mafiosi.
And needless to say, this business does not pay pizzo. That's the term in Sicilian dialect for protection money. But the vast majority of Sicilian hotels, restaurants, and other businesses do pay. And what people here are coming to realize is that travelers who patronize those businesses are unwittingly helping the mafia oppress honest Sicilians. In the Portella della Ginestra restaurant, a group of Sicilian school kids are on a field trip.
La ricotta la mangi? Tutti l'avete il piatto? Buon appetito a tutti!
It's often said teachers, some related to mob bosses, used to skip the history book chapters on the mafia. But teacher Giovanni Gruttadauria brought his class here to make a point about how life could be if they weren't all under the mafia's heel.
È stato un ottimo pranzo, pieno di speranza.
It was a delicious lunch, full of hope. A lunch that wasn't only about the food that we ate, but the discovery of ingredients grown on our land. This is very important. It's giving new life to tainted land.
Questo è un posto particolare, perché proprio da questa zona Giovanni Brusca assieme ai suoi...
Dario Ricobono is a tour guide who takes a path less traveled in Sicily. He was featured doing his thing by the national television channel.
Forza, forza, milanesi, forza!
In it, he's shown prodding a group of puffing tourists through the hills above his hometown of Capaci. He takes them to the spot where a mafia boss detonated the bomb that killed a crusading anti-mafia judge 18 years ago.
Quindi ho visto con I miei occhi
I saw with my own eyes the horrors of the mafia. I saw the highway blown to bits. It seemed like a war zone. From that moment onward, I said to myself that if I didn't do something, it would be like I was an accomplice of the mafia.
So Rico Bono started volunteering in his community and eventually got involved with the Addiopizzo movement. He works with its new travel agency, organizing anti-mafia tours. They visit places where people have risen up against the mafia and even meet with people who've lost family to the mob. Rico Bono says they try to re-educate travelers, especially those from North America, who often arrive with a romanticized view of organized crime.
La mafia,
the mafia, because of many films, above all the Godfather films, has always had a certain appeal, and those who don't have much knowledge of the real mafia can be drawn in by this image. The character of the Godfather has a certain appeal, a glamour. He almost seems like a person worthy of respect. This is not the mafia.
Yet the grim reality is hard for tourists to see in markets offering glistening fresh fish or churches filled with glittering mosaics. Sicily's beauty seduces visitors and blinds them to what life under the mafia has meant. Thousands have died, and hope nearly died too. Corruption and extortion sapped the economy, condemning the island people to a life of stagnation and poverty. Rico Bono says the Addiopizzo movement aims to take back Sicily for the good and for good with the help of tourists.
In my opinion, this is the most important message that Addiopizzo sends. Each of us can do something as simple as choosing where we buy things to help the fight against the mafia.
As a guide to visitors, Addiopizzo has produced a map of the more than 400 businesses it has recruited to the anti-extortion crusade. Map in hand, I went to meet some pizzo resistors in San Lorenzo, a charming but mafia-infested neighborhood. Sandra Zito carefully cuts pieces of leather at Ciprillo, the tiny workshop and store that she runs with her husband, Pippo Pernice. Italy is renowned for its leather purses and belts, but Pernice brags that Ciprillos are a cut above the rest.
When tourists come here, we let them know immediately that we don't give a kickback to the mafia. Here, pizzo isn't paid. What you pay stays in our pockets. It doesn't go into the pockets of the mafia.
For Ciprillo, being on the Addiopizzo map is more than a marketing gimmick. Some of the merchants who've defied the mob have had their gates and cars torched. But Pernice proudly displays the Addiopizzo logo inside his shop. He hasn't been threatened, and he credits being part of Addiopizzo's movement.
The more we are, the more likely we will win, because this is a war.
Con la farina, poi con le mani.
Another foot soldier is Maria Jose Di Raimondo, here flattening a ball of dough at the La Vecchia Strada Pizzeria. No slice of the pie here goes to the mafia. Between bites, the clients often ask owner Dionira Lagana if she's ever afraid. She tells them,
No. Paura di che?
No, afraid of what? We are here to stay. In fact, the list of owners is growing. Are they going to kill everyone? I don't think so.
She says the pizzeria's anti-mafia stance draws curious locals and occasionally tourists. Regulars praised it, but admitted to me that they return time and again for the savory Naples-style pizza. Ethics alone won't satisfy them. That's true throughout Sicily, where businesses often feel more pressure from the mob than from customers. No surprise, then, that 80% of businesses in Sicily still pay pizzo, meaning there's still plenty of work ahead for those trying to turn the tables on the mafia.
La pizza è pronta.
For Dispatches, this is Nancy Greenlace in Palermo, Sicily.